Okay, great. First of all, it's a blessing. Thank you for you guys to be presenting in front of you today. So my name is Jim Healy, VP of Business Development, and Dr. Zhao is also joining us today, CEO and founder of Friendly Robots. Today we're doing a seed raise of 1.2 million with a valuation of 12 million. And this is a little bit about us. So the problem, every great product solves a problem. So for us, what we discovered is in the janitorial space, there's been a significant lack of innovation, which has hindered janitorial companies from capturing well-deserved profit margin in commercial vacuuming. The solution is our AI-driven, fully autonomous vacuuming robot. It covers 8,000 square feet per hour. It's swift in maneuverability and very advanced in object detection, making it immensely human safe. The cost is simply 6 cents per square foot. That equates to 1/3 of the current cost for a janitorial company to employ a human to the same thing. So essentially, those janitorial companies triple their profit margins. And here is our robot in motion. So just a little snippet there for you. Don't want to go on too long, so I have to stay within 7 minutes here. So a couple things to mention. One is, obviously, just to kind of get in your thought and your mind, the Roomba. You know, some people don't realize how much they do in annual sales. $413 million, actually. That's obviously, you know, for homes. But the commercial sector is very archaic in technology, we find, and it is a huge, huge market. So regarding our timeline of money that we've raised so far, angel round, 240K, 600K with Murano Ventures. So we've raised typically, and also just be transparent, the founders put in $250,000 of his own funds as well. That kind of speaks to the blood and sweat that's gone into this company. So, and this is also mentioning to you all the key trials that we've done. And here is a key point. This is how many janitors we have currently in the US. Might add there's an immense, very high turnover rates, about 200 to 400%. But this is a total addressable market, serviceable addressable market, and also in the Bay Area right here. So competitive analysis, really key thing. Who are the competitors out there? How do we measure up? Currently right now, backed by SoftBank, they raised $22 million, is the Wiz. Now the Wiz, nice product. I'm not going to knock it. But a couple of things about it is a 3-hour battery life. Ours has 8 hours. It spans 12 inches in width. Ours is 24 inches in width. But the key thing here is the auto path planning. With the Wiz, you have to actually push it like a lawnmower to create the path planning of the robot. With our product, we take care of all that for you. And this stands on the shoulders of many, many years, 2.5 years in the making of many UC Berkeley software coding engineers. So just a little bit about that. Income model, maybe you're curious. So with us, it's a recurring monthly lease model. It's $2,500 a month. The great thing about our model and our cost structure, just $5,000 to make the robot. So within 2 months, having the robot deployed at a client's site, we break even. By the third month, it's pure profit. So essentially, it's a quick ROI with our product. Here's a key breakdown point. So typically we find we want to be on the lower end, play it safe, but typically it's between $5,000 and $6,000 a month for a janitorial company to hire a commercial vacuuming gentleman. High injury rate, high turnover rate, very expensive. Might add, there was a recent Harvard study done within the last 6 months, and top 5 most dangerous professions. Number 5 was commercial vacuuming, believe it or not. So here's a couple of key facts there. Financial projection, what we're looking at. As you can see, some key pivotal points here. About 19 months in, when we're scaling up, just including the purchase order we'll discuss in a second. You can see how a nice swing upwards in the 19-month point right there. So here's kind of our revenue forecast. You can see number of robots deployed as it kind of exponentially kind of goes upwards. Market traction. This is a key slide for you to all look at and may want to really kind of grab on it. So we've had demos requested by Disney. We've done some demos that have been paid, but also more importantly, we're in trials for a US-wide launch with UG2. They do about between $400 and $500 million a year. They have clients such as Stanford, Boston U, Harvard, CBRE, and so forth. We have secured with them $1.1 million purchase order. That is what majority of the funds this round is raised for will go to. Executive team. So obviously here's our CEO and founder, Zhao. Very low-key, humble man, I must admit, but immensely bright and very sharp and very honest. He has a PhD from mechanical engineering from UC Berkeley. And that's kind of the reason how with his mind, the way it works, he's gotten the cost structure so down, so low with our robot. And he's taught at Berkeley as well. Brian Snow, who many of you may know, very well-known man in Silicon Valley, resides in San Diego, but he has on the board of many high-profile companies. So here's a breakdown of what we're looking at. So how the funds will be spent. Mainly about half on building the robots, marketing and PR. And a key thing to mention here is probably Karcher and Nilfisk is a likely buyout. They really kind of can't figure out the secret sauce behind the path planning like we have. We've kind of cracked the code on it. That's why you see with the Wiz, with SoftBank, you have to push the robot to create the path planning. They don't have the intellectual software IP like we do. So, and that is my pitch right there.
Perfect. Thank you very much for that, Jim. Good job.
Thanks.
Okay, questions?
And Dr. Zhao is here with us on camera. So,
okay, Scott, fire away.
Sure. Hey, that's really a pretty amazing product. Congratulations for that.
Thank you. Thank you.
My question is, your financial model would cost $30,000 a year for anybody to lease out. What do you identify as your core market here?
Our core market is janitorial companies. We've also found is going directly to the real estate owners. Case in point, I have a gentleman they will reach through a high-level contact of mine. He owns 640 California Street in San Francisco, resides in Florida. It's a 20-floor building, and for him, the savings is exponential. He actually, we're in talks now. He's already fired his property management company because they were against the robot. He wants to employ it. So that's the owner's side of the building where they can save money. And then the other route is going to the janitorial company where they're paid a quarter square foot for vacuuming. And like I mentioned, basically their cost goes down to 6 cents per square foot versus it's been 18 cents a square foot prior to that with human labor. So janitorial companies can triple their profit margins. Yeah.
Does the lease itself come with maintenance and service?
It does. It does. Big thing about Zhao and the company is our guarantee. We will take care of you. So with our deployment, we're working to have mechanical engineers on site nearby to be deployed and take care of any needs that happen, a bristle, whatever it might be, swap it out right away with the other robot, and then take care of the issue. So
as you market this around the country, you're going to have strategic service reps, service techs in the areas, and
that's correct. Yeah, in a recent event we were partaking in, we had a lot of traction from Calgary up there, but a lot of traction in Texas, Florida, and also the New Jersey area. So,
and how would that impact your financial model, having those people, having that labor costs and so forth in different parts of the country and world, really?
Sure. It'll be a case-by-case basis on how many hours. We'll agree on an hourly rate that we'll pay them. It'll be an independent contractor. But we'll, of course, put them through a rigorous process of knowing the robot inside and out and being able to give them a call, have them go to the site and handle the situation. So,
okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thanks, Scott. Carrie, go ahead.
I think Mira wants to ask. I'll let Mira ask first. Go ahead.
Yeah, I put a couple questions in the chat and I figured I'll just
oh, sorry, I didn't see that. Okay.
No worries. So the first one, because the second one is about IP, because I didn't notice anything about intellectual property, but just about the performance of the machine. Because I've known people who have been in that janitorial space and, corners, edges, it takes time, but that's where a lot of dirt and dust seems to accumulate. Obviously in the demo, it goes like straight in and it comes straight back. Like, oh, what about the sides and the corners?
Sure.
Just curious about like how effective the machine can be or is, and how do you get it to be as effective as it needs to be?
Sure. So basically what we figured out is essentially in a nutshell, commercial vacuuming is really dangerous. It causes musculoskeletal disorder injury. So within the first 3 to 4 years, an individual is a 91 to 94% chance they'll develop in the shoulder and lower back this injury. And it's because of the backward pulling motion. So what a robot does is covers 85 to 90% of the vacuuming, bulk of the vacuuming, and the rest of the staff will do spot vacuuming. As you saw the chairs, they'll pull the chairs out and prep things up and do the spot vacuuming with an air pack. But the bulk of the vacuuming that's dangerous will be handled by the robot, and they're free. What we really kind of angle it as is freeing up your staff to have healthy range of motion. So windows and desks and so forth, using different muscles, not that repetitive motion that gets folks injured and costs employers a lot of money, which equates to about a $12 billion a year industry. So
it's meant to be complementary to existing staff so they can multitask and do other cleaning while the vacuum is deployed to do like mass area vacuuming.
Yeah, it's quite incredible. So it's like a song list. You just kind of hit play, you'll do the floor, and it's Wi-Fi activated, so you can talk to the elevator. And then on its own, can tell the elevator on floor 3, take me to floor 4, and it can just clear. For example, we're placed at Stanford Cardinal Hall right now, which is Wi-Fi activated. So we're working to have it connected so it can just do all 6 floors on its own. But a little sample of it, it'll do a floor in 38 minutes, where it takes a human being about an hour and a half to do that same floor. So, yeah.
Thanks. Oh, and IP. Sorry.
Sure. Yeah, we're going to be totally. So we stand, like I said, I mentioned, on the shoulders of all the interns and software grads from UC Berkeley. We're blessed to be right in Berkeley, where UC Berkeley is. And the coding has taken 2 years in the making, and the prototyping. It's kind of where data and hardware, that iteration meets. So part of what the funds we'll be raising is getting further, kind of deeper into the patent submission. But we are in the process of basically provisional patents and so forth. So, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Carrie, go ahead.
Just a quick question. How did you decide on the price point?
Sure. So the $2,500 per month, the lease. Sure. So what we did was kind of did a market analysis and kind of discovered that, okay, so they're paying between $60,000 and $65,000 a year for a janitorial, commercial vacuuming gentleman. What's going to be really enticing, and at the same time, how can we make a healthy profit margin for our shareholders and investors? And so what we find is with the build out of the structure being $5,000, and given we hit profit at 3 months in, it's a very quick ROI. So we've also in talks, I'll be transparent, with basically folks in engagement proposal letters with high folks at CBRE, where we'll basically have distributors where they'll actually get $500 per month and they'll rent it out for $3,000 a month. So they'll have an incentive and some skin in the game. So.
Okay, Jim.
Yeah, I'm just curious about the science, and this is, I guess, for Zhao. Am I pronouncing it correctly? Is that close enough? Are you using? I'm actually invested in, or we're invested in a Toronto company called Innerspace, which does sort of measurements indoors, and they work with Wi-Fi. Some people, I guess, use GPS. I guess you could use LiDAR. I'm just, without giving away any state secrets here, I was just kind of wondering, how much tech are you using, and what kind of tech to make sure you don't bump into things and all that?
Yeah, sure. If I can take this one. Yes, computer vision is involved, stereo computer vision. We have actually a couple of those cameras in addition to LiDAR. And so it's really a distillation of the whole self-driving car industry that we're leveraging on. This stuff is really being the building, not just for us, but from the 2010 when ROS is created. This is where we can take all these little subcomponents that's been maturing from the self-driving industry and integrate it into just the right software and just the right algorithm so that it works at the price point that we needed for the application that we needed.
Right.
And
so you're using a lot of AI with the computer. Obviously, computer is AI ML. But I guess what you're saying is because the stakes are so much lower, you don't have to get it to the same level as a self-driving. Yeah, it kills people.
Exactly right. That's exactly right. And it can be productive right now in the current condition we have it and start to bring a value to our customers.
Right. So just good enough, excellent or whatever. Perfect shouldn't be the enemy of good. That's what I'm saying.
Exactly.
Okay. Thanks.
Perfect. Okay. We've got time for a real quick question, Galen, if you've got one. If not, we can push it to the chat.
Just a quick question on the within the buildings now. You're seeing a lot of the companies are building out their entire access systems. Does this work on LoRaWAN, or are you working on any particular protocol within those buildings so it can talk to the different access areas to be able to get into rooms that might be locked and things like that? Because you talk about this ability to go and clear floor by floor, but you're going to have doorways and all sorts of things that are all going to be running on typically a proprietary system within that leasehold space.
Sure. What we find is that when running into that situation where the elevator brings the robot up, if it has to get through a certain door and there is that unique setup, like as you mentioned, the porter will simply swipe their badge, let the robot into that floor, and then they can just simply vacuum around. So.
Okay, but you talked about this idea of being able to go from floor to floor, accessing the elevators through the WAN, through the Wi-Fi. That's got to be then connecting into their internal network. Or is that something where you still have a porter?
There is a German software company that we're utilizing that helps us connect and basically talk with the elevator, and so kind of deal with it that way. Now, there are some elevators that aren't Wi-Fi activated, and that's where that German software company comes in, so we can integrate it. There is somewhat of a cost, but it's definitely worth it when we can set up a annual service agreement with the client. So we'll kind of like take that small cost, seeing the bigger picture and the forest through the trees. So.
Great. All right. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much for that, Jim.